Dyson Knight, and this is the Sup'm Show, episode 51. Burn the world, save the girl, you say, Kent. Dr. Kent
Burn the
Bazard is here.
world, save the girl.
Always save the girl. And this is something that you came up with, and I found it so very interesting because honestly and truly, I don't know if you remember when I had locks, when I had hair.
Yeah,
You remember when Samson had hair?
yeah.
You remember, remember, remember when Delilah cut that off? I
Right.
mean, but I mean, I let me go out on a limb because we didn't get an opportunity to really dig deep into the angle at which you were coming at this topic, right?
Right. Right.
But what I first gathered from it, because I feel this to my core, it seems to me in my life I've experienced this a lot. Whereas, and to put it simply, situations are taken by a woman at times and thrown up into the air, just throw it up into the air, and then the man or the significant other in her life is expected to make sure you catch all those things. You know, like when the plates falling down in the Mickey Mouse cartoons, and all the plates are falling down, and the guy just grabs all of the plates and catches them in
Perfect order.
perfect order and stock them up. You know what I mean? Because there's about to be some chaos, and it
You know, I came up with this topic because a couple weeks ago, the wife and my kids were away, right? So I was actually watching a lot more TV than usual. I pretty much falling asleep in front of the TV most
right,
nights, right?
right,
So I was just watching a bunch of movies and like bunch of shows, and I was trying to find something new to watch, like what I never watched before. So I was looking at recent stuff, and then after a while, I kind of gave up and started watching like older movies. So I had a mixture of movies. I watched all the Mission Impossible movies, and I'm like, bro, in every movie that I watched, almost just about every movie I watched, where there was some huge diabolical, very powerful villain.
hmm
Whenever he wanted to stop the hero in his tracks from saving the world, all he had to do is put his girl in danger. All he had to do is say, "What are you gonna do, Agent Hunt? You gonna save the girl, or are you gonna defuse the nuclear missile that's gonna launch and destroy half the Earth? What is Agent Hunt gonna do? Agent Hunt is gonna save the girl."
So let's look at that from a couple different angles now. Now that I know exactly what you're talking about, the external expectation is for this superhero to save the world. Yes, that's outside of him and the girl. I'm talking
Yep.
the person
Like,
who's talking to the agent.
right. And so
Okay,
he uses that against him.
and the villain expects that the man is going to leave the world to him to destroy
Yep.
because he's not going to worry about the world. He's going to save the girl.
Correct.
What in this scenario, what does the girl expect? Is the girl expecting to be saved, or is she expecting that for the greater good she should die a horrible gruesome death, and the world at least will be saved?
Most times, to their defense, most
hmm
times in the movie, the girl would say no or something like that, or she would say nothing,
She ain't gonna
right?
say, help, help, save me.
No, most times to their defense. So I'm
Right.
not putting the blame. I'm not putting the blame on women. Blame is
Yeah, no, no,
off.
no. I'm that's already three different angles we coming at, and I believe I have a fourth, which is the expectation of the man within himself, of the
Ah,
superhero,
yeah,
right? So we
yeah.
have four different angles to look at this, and then we have to relate it to real life, what the
Let's do
real
it.
life, yeah, real life expectation is. All right, so scenario number one, the external expectation. You already discussed it in the movies now. All of even the upbringing. Like I remember they had when I was training to be a a host, an MC, we were taught literally to pull out the chair when a female approaches the table, you are to stand and then make sure that she is seated, and then you sit back down.
Correct.
So you are taught to chivalry. You're taught to be
We're taught that's how we're supposed to be. That's just the way
yeah,
it's supposed to be.
right, right. So that communication is that. Let me see what Rock is saying here. Here's the part the lady's not gonna like. Most times is sometimes the female character has sometimes it's what the female character has done to cause the danger to begin with. No,
Sometimes,
no
sometimes that's
CD.
true.
You
Sometimes
need
that's
to
true.
be that's like my
Sometimes,
scenario, throwing your plates up into the air and
sometimes
expecting it to be caught in perfect order. Yeah, I mean, because okay, let me stay on part. Let's come back to that, Ruckus. Um, we are taught that we have to bend backwards at all times for a woman. Yes,
um maybe not all times. I would say that, and this is why I call it simp programming, right? And here's the
yes,
reason why. Here's the reason why. Before we even expand that point, Tyson, here's just to add on to the reason why I think this is a topic of discussion, and it is because um, now we're gonna refer to the term feminist a few times in this show. Or at least I will use the term feminist, but I want to be very clear that I'm not talking about my mom, the feminist, and those from the generation after her and the generation before her. I'm talking about those ladies of today who I like to call neo feminists, the
that
extreme
is a thing.
feminists, the modern feminists. These are the women who are out there saying, we don't need men on the planet, kill all men. They're saying that, you know, women are just as strong as men are, and there's no difference. So men and women can compete in sports, no problem. They're saying that they don't need me to open the door. Matter of fact, thinking that I need to open the door is offensive. Thinking that I need to open the door for her is offensive, and I'm oppressing her with my thoughts of what I call chivalry. She calls misogyny.
Right,
So, so the fact that I think that I need to save her from something is offensive. So these are the women who I'm referring to when I say the feminists or women, modern women. You talk about modern women, you're talking about the modern feminists. All right. And so these women claim that throughout time, media, TV, music, society in general, has been working against women to push women back. Now, there's no denying that there was certain things not allowed, and even today, certain places women aren't allowed to go. Certain spaces that are held for men. There are also spaces that are held for women, and that's not new either. But
right.
what the point I want to raise, which is the first point we're making here, is that how are we how can we say that we live in a patriarchy that's designed to oppress women when men are programmed from very young to do everything, including eliminate your life, to make sure that your woman survives, or a woman, not any woman. What do you always hear? Women and children first.
Yeah,
That's a rule anywhere in
yeah.
the world. Any man in the world, in any situation, immediately you hear women and children first. And there's a reason for that. Okay? There's a reason for that. So the reason for that is that I'm gonna ignore that, Dyson. The reason for that is that we have been programmed for this behavior the
Uh,
same way, and so how is it a patriarchy, and how are we in a system where we're supposed to be doing this, we're supposed to be oppressive or whatever we're supposed to be, and yet this stuff goes on. I remember growing up talking about media, talking about media. I remember growing up, every show we saw, every cartoon we saw, save the girl,
yes.
save the girl. If someone's
Save the
gonna
girl.
die, that's not that they're gonna die. Save the girl. Just make
Save the
sure you
girl.
save that girl.
Yes.
So that's something that we learn over and over and over again. We hear it in the music. We hear it in every. But let's stick with movies for now. Let's start. I'm gonna stick there for now. I'm gonna stick there for now.
Yeah. Well, let me answer as far as I can say, and I've listened to a few podcasts talking about feminism. Two women that studied I forget what they call it. They studied women's everything, right? And what they say is something like what Anne's is pointing to, that there are a lot of people that call themselves feminists that really are simply delusional and using it as a stepping stone or back to stand on, and it pretty much in order to make the world whatever it is that they choose for it to be, which is the opposite of true feminism, which is the celebration of what is actually feminine. What you said, that there are places and positions for women as well as there are places and positions for men, and they celebrate the fact that these positions that are held for women are not the same but of equal value to the whole, as being a woman, and that we agree with on the show. Now when it comes to the expectation that men are groomed to save the girl no matter what, um and then have that turned around on them to say, you are, I guess, being controlling,
Misogynistic.
trying, right, you
That's
know,
what's
you
popular right now.
exactly, you hitting me over the head and driving me back to the cave type thing. It it's it's confusing, and I think that will round us back to the fourth scenario, which is the self expectation from the man. But for women, yeah, send the presentation whilst I explain a couple of things. For for men, when we say simp, I always have to remind, see, simp is a new term for me, and I had to Google it the first time I heard it. And what it means is a silly or foolish person. Now, what is silly, in my opinion, or foolish about a man who tries to save the girl no matter what, and no matter what includes ensuring that himself is safe.
That's not truly the definition of a simp, and this is why the women get upset. Like my wife, for example, at the term. So they're not clear on what the term simp is. They think that, or at least let me say, it's not even their fault. Many men use the term incorrectly. It's evolved from what it originally meant. The original meaning was um, a simple person, like you said, and now it has evolved. It evolved into, well, a man who overly tries to get a woman's attention, who clearly doesn't want to be with him, right? And goes above and beyond, and he may even allow her to use him at his with his knowledge, in hopes that he may one day be with her, right? And that can extrapolate into a lot of different types of variations of that situation. But now some of our more careless brothers just use the word simp for any guy who's being nice to a girl. They call him a simp, and that's not necessarily so, right? That's not so at all. A woman who just because you're being nice to a female doesn't make you a simp. That's not what it is. So
Right,
many people take that as, and men use it to other men in a taunting way, right? So they say, "Stop being a simp, but stop being nice to that girl. Stop being a simp." That's not what it
right.
means. Being a gentleman, I am a gentleman. I am a certified gentleman,
Not a
class of
simp.
1995, Gentlemen's Committee. So
Not a simp.
I'm a certified gentleman. I had the tuxedo and everything.
So,
Right?
Doc, hold on now. So, would a simp be the person that tells a woman not to do a certain thing? And let's go back to what Ruckus said, not to do a certain thing. And then she does that certain thing. And the time for the nuclear bomb triggers and it starts to click now that she did the thing that you told her not to do. Is it a simp that now has to go and save her and say, anyway, I ain't trying to stop this bomb because the girl means more. Don't worry about it, babe. I can save you.
I think that's simp mentality, to decide that the entire world needs to burn so that you could save the girl. My my second name for this show was burn the world, save the girl, burn the world, because that's what the simp thinks. Save the girl, burn the world, the hell with everything else, please the woman. And guess what? When you're in a relationship with somebody who feels that way about you and it's reciprocated, that's great. But what makes you a simp is when it's not reciprocated. And you know it's not reciprocated, yet
Beautiful clarification.
you still decide to burn the world for this girl. And as a matter of fact, you decide to burn the world. You decided to burn the world, knowing that this significant other, because you know we have persons in other types of relationships now, so it's not just men
Right,
and women.
right, right,
But because that significant other is not interested, or the other person who you're seeking attention or affection from doesn't return it to you or is using you on purpose, and you still ignore all of that and you still decide to burn the world. To me,
and
that is the definition of a simp.
and I would like to call, and whilst you confirm, I would like to call out all of the women that have the expectation that it is okay to put the entire world, and we say in the world, but to put situations in a state of chaos, in a state of chaos, and then expect that, not just expect, but demand that there be a resolution delivered promptly by someone who was not a part of creating the problem. I that I have an issue with. And what you said kind of like, if I find that there are times when significant others, let's make it general, significant others use or create chaotic situations in order to test the devotion of the person that they're with. So in that situation, I've seen that a lot of times too. And for the men that find themselves in that situation, let me speak to y'all for a minute because that's what the Sup'm show does.
Yep.
You will always be tested, and boy, you know,
Can I answer
I
that?
get, I gotta, I think we gotta get deeper into it before I even go to that. But I
All
could
right.
say, man, stay tuned for that piece of knowledge. Let me
All
put
right.
some dudes on game. All right, so the scenario of we kind of like bouncing through the four scenarios here. I think the first one, world expectation, um, female expectation. Um, geez, what was the
Man's,
third?
man's expectation.
Of self. No, but there
Expectation of
was a
what?
third one.
I
There
can
was a
add
third
one.
one.
Expectation of
Yes,
other men, for sure.
expectations of other men. What are your friends are saying? How your friends
Right.
treating you? And
Correct.
whatnot. What is the expectation? Because you know, I've heard you've been called. They clown with you about how you would react or interact with past relationships, or maybe even this present relationship.
Listen, I can see the reason why I can talk about this with confidence, and because I consider myself, I'm not perfect, but I consider myself a reformed simp as far as situations like that are concerned, relationships. I've been in many
Right,
relationships where I was the one putting 120% and the other person was only putting in less than 10. Okay. And I've been in situations like that where everybody else could see it. And I kind of saw it too, but I didn't want to see it. So I just decided not to see it. You see what I mean? And
so as a
I
reform
was,
now, go ahead.
uh, no, I was
Be
saying I would still choose my friends. I would still choose that girl if I had to pick up if I had to pick up the girl or the guy, if they were both stranded somewhere, and that same girl called me who treat me like garbage, who she probably just come from some guy's house, she treated me like garbage. She would call me up, and they called me up. I'll probably tell them, bro, y'all gotta walk. Like, sorry for that. But and go and
fine.
pick and go and
Simp.
pick her up. That's the position. I've been that guy. I've
Right.
been that guy.
And
So I
now,
know what it's like to be that guy. That's why I can speak about it. I know
And
what he's
now
like.
you would what? In the same scenario, now you would what? What would you do?
She wouldn't call me.
Mm,
That girl wouldn't even call me. We wouldn't even
dig
be
it.
talking.
Got it.
We wouldn't even be
Got
talking.
it.
You
Because
understand?
that's
If
the
she
type of
called me,
girl.
yeah, if she called me, it would be like we ain't talking a very long time because I wouldn't be talking to her. Because
Got you.
if you're not giving me what I'm trying to give you, if you're not reciprocating for me what I'm trying to give to you, then that's it.
So what?
You see?
So who should save the girl, and when should a girl be saved?
That's the trick. Okay.
Mm,
Now the world, when you're talking about the world at stake, that's a whole different story. In any other situation, I say save the girl. Now that's because I am who I am. I'm still deep down. I got some
gentlemen.
sympathy. I got a gentleman. I was going to say something. Gentleman.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm still not like Tyson. Let me give you a perfect example. Friday, Friday. My wife can tell you this. I just told her the story. I was leaving the bank. There was a kid and a woman when I was leaving the bank, and the kid was. I'm talking. He must have been old as my son. 5 years. Just about 5 years old. He's screaming. He's kicking her. He's pulling her dress. He's dragging her all over the place. He's not. She's trying to leave the shop. He will not let her leave the shop. He's trying to push her back in the shop. You can imagine a 5-year-old kid trying to push a grown woman back into the shop because he wanted something in the shop, but she told him no.
Right.
So when I walked in, he was in there screaming. When I walked in the bike, when I came back out, I'm like, no, 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 I can't ignore this. So I walked over to her, and as I'm walking over to her, two guys, some guys some construction workers, also pulled over. They didn't
Hmm.
stop. They didn't come out the car. They also
Right.
pulled over and started looking, and they started talking at the same time I started talking. And then another guy who was behind me in a suit, like we all came over the same time. And this is what I told my wife, men still want to save the girl. So I went over to her and I said, listen, I said, first thing I said, is this your child? She said no. So I said, oh, really? She said, oh, it's my cousin's child. So I said, okay,
Mm,
so I still have to be careful. And this is the age of smartphones, so I gotta be careful. I can't slap up the kid. So I grabbed him and I picked him up like this, right, right, and
uh-huh.
he's still. But the long story
Hmm.
short is, I got him to the car. He never tried to hit me, right, but he was struggling, but he never
Right.
swung me. I put him
Hmm.
in the car and I eventually closed the door. Another woman came out of the shop and I said, thank God another woman come because the woman can hit him. I can't hit him. The
Right.
woman can hit him. Women and
Right.
children first, remember? Women and children
Hmm.
first. So I
Hmm.
can't hit him. The woman came over who happened to know the girl and she got in the little kid's face and pushed him and all that stuff. So I'm like, all right, good. Somebody get physical with him. I don't have to get physical with him because if I get
Right.
physical with him, it's a problem, right? So got him in the car. What happens? The lady drives off. I can't find my keys. See, Ruckus is
Oh
right.
Lord.
I can't find my keys. Long
Oh
story short, my
gosh.
keys dropped in the car.
Oh
So
man.
the woman that long gone. So the lady I was walking up and down, walking up and down. The lady came out the store and said, "You lost something?" She helped me get the keys back. I was there almost 2 hours extra waiting for my keys to
Oh.
come. Nevertheless, the point is, number one, automatically random men came to the rescue.
Right.
Automatically, we started to look and say, "Hey, this is a situation where a woman is in trouble and something needs to be done." And I'm never gonna not believe that. I don't know. I guess that's programming. I guess I've been programmed. I'm never gonna not believe that.
Mm.
I if I for me to walk away and not do anything, like that would still be bothering me today. If I had just walked away and did nothing. You
I
understand what I'm
get
saying?
you. I get you. And I feel as though, all things in a perfect world put together perfectly, we need different types of people. And the types of people that we do need are like that's a great example. A grown woman and a child. Child rearing, raising a child, children that have a tendency to do dumb things, um, behave, have their little tantrums where they're basically out of control. They need both male and female presence in order to balance that out in a sense. Now, the do women need saving when it comes to these type situations?
If she had
Can a
told me,
woman?
if she had told me leave her alone,
I got it
I wouldn't
right,
even.
right.
You understand?
But here's the deal, and it's funny that this statistic has to come up so often. And this is another thing that brings men on two different sides now. Break it down for two of y'all types, males and men. One, it statistically, children do better in single parent homes where the man is the parent. Statistically, that's female and male children. Just off, just in what is more common is that a lot of children are raised by the woman only, right? And there are men out there that raise children that ain't even their own. Like that was not your child in the bank, yet you got involved in raising that child momentarily because you classify as man. Now let's break it down for them other sets. The males, we call them cis male, born a man simply because you have a male organ. Yeah, those people who feel as though they don't need to be involved or they don't make any efforts, or you have these stories whereas and let me get through this quickly. You're trash. You have a child in the world and you've never ever done anything for the child. And when the child is a grown adult now and you have never been around, use garbage, right? All right. Unless you have some type of health, mental, or you died, right? You should have at least tried to do something, even talk, right? So you have the situation whereas you say the woman does need saving, and in some instances the man would need saving too, because like you said, the two people come together. Well, the couple come together, man, woman, man and woman, whatever, come together, and you doing this 100. Um, Shoot, that's why I didn't want to take much time. I just can lose my train of thought. but but yeah, there are bingo. There are situations where women don't need saving, and
So
here's and and in this we come back again to what Ruckus was saying again, and I feel this maybe I have a chip on my shoulder when it comes to this is why I find myself leaning more to it. So if I seem even biased, right, to what Ruckus is saying, forgive me. But sometimes we, man or woman, I'll balance it like that, allow children in this instance to do whatever they want to do at home, go to bed whatever time they want to go to bed, eat whatever it is that they want to eat, right? Wear whatever it is that they want to wear. And then when it's time for them to go in public, you want to be some a figure of authority and say, no, you can't have this, or you better go to bed, or you better sit still, or you better this, or you better that. And then like, bro, that ain't what I used to.
yeah,
So who you showing off for in public? You know I don't go to bed. You know I be on my phone, or why you trying to take my device? You understand what I'm
yeah,
saying? So now
yeah.
you have the parent that creates this piece or creates this situation, and and then now you're in need of saving. Do you believe that that is a situation whereas who broke it needs to fix it?
Mm. Well, unfortunately, right, the world has changed so much where that's kind of the only choice you have. And we're getting worse because we're drawing a line between men and women. Not even, not say draw a line, but we're kind of separating the cohesiveness that we used to have, right? And that's something that I strongly believe in. I believe men and women in society should work together in the roles that suit the individuals the best. And that's really all that matters. Similarly, in a relationship. But what happens is, as a society now, we're so disconnected that it's like I said, I ran the risk, like Rocket's man is saying here, I ran the risk of upsetting somebody. If the mother had seen me pick up a child like that, she might have really got upset.
Right.
Because obviously this kid is behaving a certain way because he's been allowed to behave that way, right? So the question is, why is that child in an environment? And again, I'm trying to not sound, I don't know, sexist or whatever, but I could almost, by hearing the story, you know that he's in a single parent home. The father is not around. Now the father could be a jerk. He could be useless. He could be in jail, which makes
Yeah.
it even, that doesn't make it any better. That
Right.
means now that now means the selection of the male you should have had a child with is poor also, because you're stuck with him now. You're stuck with him. That's it.
Mm.
You're stuck with him. That's your baby daddy, and that's it. So I said this before, and I said this to my wife, and she didn't agree with me. I said something. Let me get this right now. I agree. I think I got it from our brother Warren, because Warren had said something like, he said, "Women hold the gateway to sex," and that means if you're a respectable man at all,
They hold the keys. Yeah.
the key is the only way you're gonna have sex is if the woman allows you to. That's the only way it's gonna happen,
She
and
got to
that's
give
what
you
we
the
mean.
keys.
That's
Right.
what we mean by that.
Hmm.
If you're following the law and you're a man with any type of respect for another human, the only way you're gonna have sex with a female is if she allows you to. And guess what? That's what happens in nature. That's what happens in nature.
Yeah.
Only certain animals go contrary to that. So that's why I said that women hold the keys. So that means that you essentially hold the keys to the generation that we're producing here. And in the wild, they take that very seriously. Women will
Powerful.
the females in the wild will look at the male and say that male is weak. He cannot take care of himself, or he cannot provide for himself or me. So I'm not mating with him. And they gone. That's
Yep.
what happens in the wild. Finish.
Yeah.
And he has to raise his game until he gets the female. And if he doesn't raise his game, he's gonna die alone. That's just that's nature. And even in a lion pride, even in a lion pride, when a lion, thank you, Mr. Smith. Even in a lion pride, when the lion has the male lion, the alpha lion, the male has taken over the crowd. Sorry, taken over the pride. If he is no longer able to serve his function, meaning protect, mainly protection, he does assist with the hunt, and especially the bigger kills. People think only lionesses hunt. That's not true. Male lions hunt also, but they don't hunt the small game. They hunt the bigger game, right? So
Hmm.
for a reason, they're bigger, right? They also protect the pride. If one hyena comes to, if a pack of hyenas come to crush the pride, the male is in the front. Okay, so I'm saying when he can no longer um, provide that function, guess who chase him out the pride? The female
The
lions.
female.
They will chase him out of the pride.
Catch y'all.
They will all chase him out. So what I'm saying is, we don't live in nature. We don't live in the world
Very true, man.
where where we where we I have a problem thinking that we live in a world that's designed by men to control women. I find that offensive. I think it's stupid to even say that. I find it offensive. And I don't think that, I'm not saying that there are not men out there who are either intimidated by
Let me
strong
help
women.
you. Let me steer you into um pretty much just balancing that statement. You don't feel as though the world is created by men, or it's created in a way whereas men are,
Design.
are designed to control women. If it's not designed that way, then what is it designed to be in terms of?
It is designed for the powerful
Mhm.
to be powerful. That's it. It is designed for those who can, like Donald Trump said, use the system. to use the system and be as powerful as possible and pass that on to their progeny. Just like any other natural environment. Anywhere in nature, that's what's happening. The more powerful members of a species survive and they reproduce and they pass it on. It's just that we humans, we don't just die on the street per se.
Like I
We have
said,
people who suffer.
yeah, I've been listening to some podcasts, two women again, and reading some literature too, and history. You can't deny that there was very basic. There was a time when women weren't allowed to vote. Like we can't
No, no, no.
deny that.
I'm not saying that, but that wasn't because it was a reason for that. The reason for that was um and this is documented, and I found this out by doing some reading some literature myself. The
Hmm.
reason why the decision was made, or originally only men were considered for that, is because it was the men, mostly men at that time, were designing infrastructure and things like that. So it was thought that the people who
It
should
was an
make the
industrial age.
right. So it was thought that people who were making the decisions about who should run that should be the people who working in that system.
Okay,
See,
and
so if you're a railroad designer and a rail, who should I vote for to be the mayor of railroads?
someone who knows
The
about
women at the
railroads.
time wouldn't have known that,
Someone
right?
who knows about railroads. Yeah.
And the point is,
Hmm.
all that stuff, when it was proved that that was no longer necessary, what happened?
Women were allowed to
It
vote.
was reversed.
However, they say that women were allowed to vote mainly because, and this is this is so crazy, mainly because all men were now equal and allowed to vote. So they had to balance or gain some strength of the white vote against the black vote.
So
And
now,
first it was only um like women of influence, money, and power who were allowed to vote
right.
at first.
So
So,
two,
mhm,
two good points there. Number one, we got to remember now this is not a worldwide conversation when you bring up that point. We're only talking about North America for the most part,
right,
right?
right, right,
Maybe some of North Europe, but the European
Britain,
influenced nations is what you're talking about. You're not talking about the rest of the world because
right,
this wasn't an issue per se in the rest of the world. They always had women rulers. They always had women who were powerful. And then you just said just now, women who were affluent, et cetera, were allowed to vote. How did those women become rich? If women were being held down and were being the system was designed to keep women poor or keep women under control. How did those women get powerful? How did that happen?
mm,
So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that there weren't groups of men, and there still are groups of men who are just assholes and believe that have a show. I don't know if chauvinistic is the right word, but have an approach where they think that they're superior to the opposite sex in all facets. I'm not saying that's not true. Vice versa is not true. It's also true.
right.
There are women who think that way as well. What we need to do is first of all stop trying to convince ourselves that um one person has an automatic victim card and one person has an automatic privilege card, because it doesn't work like that. Okay, more men die in the street homeless, more men die in prison, more men die in wars, more men drop out of school and fail school, more boys, 500 or something, 500 and something of the 2,000 kids who graduated this year, 500 and something got five BJCs or more. Most of
Hmm.
those who got less are males. Most of the
Right,
persons who fail, who don't graduate high school, are males.
right.
Okay, so let's not act like we're in a system where males are is designed for males to succeed and
Succeed.
women to not succeed. There are more women
That are
making more,
succeeding.
making way more money than the men are, and that's not because of affirmative action or some nonsense like that. That's because the women are more focused. When I was in school, when we was in school, bro, what boys used to do? Goof off,
Yeah.
right?
Go outside and play.
While the girls in class getting good grades and doing what they're supposed to be doing, we was goofing
Yeah.
off, right? And
Yeah.
so some of those goof offs were still successful, but a lot of them were not. A lot of them were not successful. A lot of them still in jail or just come out of jail recently.
L-
You know,
before we run out of time, because the time is goes so quickly, the title on the flyer says always save the girl. And I
always.
have always saved the girl. And I have a problem with that. I have a big problem with that. I find that in a lot of instances, I said before, it's a test, and the world is hard enough without creating more for a man to do. So the question now is really and truly, should you always throw yourself out there to save the girl, in your opinion?
I don't. Again, I think it depends on the situation. I think you gotta be specific. I think it's situation dependent. You know what I mean? I think it's situation
Don't
dependent.
because they are because I mean in most cases, like you say, it's a power struggle. And in that power struggle, we know that the rich and the wealthy, the majority of the rich, I won't even say that, a lot of the rich and wealthy and powerful didn't gain their wealth and power through humane means or through, uh, uh, um, how would you say, squeaky clean hands.
I'm talking about
You
old
know what I
wealth.
mean? Yeah, all wealth.
Yeah,
A lot of that came from doing some nonsense,
yeah.
right? And if that be the case, can it be an enlightening moment to just to consider that the manipulation of the fact that men are basically trained by the elders and also by society and also by the media and also by the movies. We're trained to save the girl. We're trained to be the knight in shining armor. To for that to be used against us, to say I am going to take a big risk, a significant other or a woman. I'm going to risk it all. I could throw it to the wind. You know why? Because there aren't all the Simps are not reformed. You feel me? And in that with that understanding, should we be men, real men and gentlemen, should we be a lot more suspicious, a lot more picky as to when we decide to save a girl. You notice this in some cultures, men keep their mothers close to them for that very same reason, for protection against other women. And
Hmm.
in a lot of situations, wives stand next to their husbands so tightly around certain environments because they understand the powers, how other women can be, and they know that you have no idea. You have no clue that this guy setting you up, right? And about to take you for a ride. So they say, don't do this. Don't. Why are you talking to her? Or she's just your friend. These type situations, and sometimes they may come across as jealousy, when really and truly it may very well be protection. So in that situation, the question is, do you always save the girl? Or sometimes should you be a bit more smart and realize, not I wouldn't say smart, just be a bit more aware that you may need saving yourself. How you feel about that?
That's in a way that's a definition of a simp.
Mm,
I would say that kind of covers the definition in a way. When you start to put, but again, and I know we come into a close, but I believe that we should always be gentlemen. However, I believe that you should make intelligent choices, and as much as possible, you should make informed choices. Now, in today's world, we saw the incident where the Bahamian guy got killed trying to save a girl who was getting attacked. Right? We just talked
mm,
about that a few weeks ago. The guy got killed, and
Yeah.
everybody just move on with life. You know, I mean,
Yeah. God rest his soul.
God rest his soul for being a man and a gentleman, but nobody, there's no parades for him. There's no outrage. There's no, you know, we ain't having no vigil, midnight vigils, or none of that stuff. I mean, I heard of, when I was researching some stuff for this topic, I saw this quote over and over again. Men are the expendable gender. Have you ever heard this? I want you to Google that.
Wow. Yeah.
I want you to Google
I.
that and see what you come up with. Men are the expendable gender. Women are not expendable.
Wow.
And this is not new. This concept is not new. This is the reason why women and children are always first. This is the reason why the men go to war. The men don't go to war so that we can brag about how many
Hmm.
wins we got. We go to war to number one, protect the women, and number two, we are more expendable. So if anybody should die, it should be the men dying and not the women. That has always been the position, and that's the reason why men have gone to war instead of women. This is the
Yeah.
reason why men have and gone in the jungle and hunted the wild animal, and the woman stayed home and prepared the meal when he got home. This is the reason for that, because it was more dangerous for him to go out there. There's nothing misogynistic about that. You understand what I'm
Wow.
saying? So when
Wow.
you
I
want to,
reading the Google definition right now.
so this is why I find it offensive, Dyson, when women say things like that. When they say things like,
Hmm.
um, "Kill all men, burn all men," you're being misogynistic. It's a patriarchal society, and blah blah blah. You have privilege, and I don't. Which is just certainly, it's just entirely not true. It is 100% not true. And as a matter of fact, and that's how I came up with the title for the show, or at least the nickname for the show, "Save the Girl, Burn the World," is because all through growing up, that's what we've been taught. Save the girl, burn the world. He-Man, Thundercats, G.I. Joe, Transformers, and any other show you want to think about. Mask, all of them had some women that were powerful in it, and then they had some women who needed saving. And whenever those women needed saving, guess what? Those women getting saved, and somebody getting hurt in the process, or some the world can be put in extreme danger because of a simp.
Yeah.
Okay, the
Yeah.
most excellent example. I can close with this excellent example. Mr. Thanos, Mr. Thanos,
Hmm.
Thanos, comic Thanos is a simp. Comic
Hmm.
Thanos now.
Okay.
MCU Thanos is an alpha,
Yeah.
but comic Thanos is a simp. And let me tell you why he's a simp, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't understand. Comic Thanos is in love with Lady Death. He's terribly in love with Lady Death. She doesn't care one rat's behind about it. She saved his life when he was young, and he's
Hmm.
been in love with her ever since. She's been very clear that she's not interested in him. Yet he is willing to destroy the entire universe just to prove to him how much death he's willing to give her to make her
Wow.
happy. And that is what
Wow.
drives him to do what he does. His
Oh,
love for
wow.
Lady Death. And she, thank you, Ruckus. She is get run through by Deadpool.
Ah,
Deadpool,
wow.
she loves Deadpool. She is with Deadpool anytime Deadpool asks for it. She will flaunt it in front of Thanos' face, and instead Thanos will try to kill Deadpool. Instead of saying, you know what, I am the most powerful being in the universe.
You want to compete?
I'm gonna go and do something more constructive instead of. You understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
Thanos, comic book Thanos, is a simp. He's an absolute simp,
So
and
that's impressed the girl.
that impressed the girl, destroy
Always
the
impressed the
universe.
girl.
Just to like, even though she's being run through by this low life, no good, never do much of anything. Call him what you will. Deadpool is bottom of the barrel. Okay.
That what you said about male expendability is that kind of widened this conversation, and I'm sure we'd probably address it in a later show. But thinking that we could just lose a bunch of men because we have women that can make more.
Correct.
Is the general thought process, and that's kind of like mind blowing.
If,
Um,
if it's if it's for that only reason, that's just a basic reason. But even Dana White, when women started doing MMA on a wide scale, Dana White said, "I do not like the idea of two women bloodied up in a ring." And I will. He said, "I will never bring women's MMA to the UFC."
wow.
He said that because he don't like because the thought of two women bloodying up each other
Hmm.
was he didn't like the look of it. He said
Right.
that's not the right look. Now
Hmm.
eventually it happened because the women pushed for it,
Right.
right? But again, the first thing came to his mind was that is not appropriate. Women should not be
Yeah.
bloodied up and beaten on.
Right.
That should not happen. You see what I'm saying? But he was being accused of being what? Chauvinistic, whatever, misogynistic, and whatever else they would accuse him of.
Hmm.
And he actually produced some of the richest female fighters in the world, right? Or at least some of the most viewed female fighters in the world, like Ronda Rousey and a few others. So once again, we're on, and this is the point of my whole point for today is that I disagree wholeheartedly that we are in a society that males are privileged and women are not. Males males are males are it's designed for males to succeed and not for women. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. I think, a matter of fact, you could make an argument for the opposite, in that men have been programmed that you must do and you must achieve whatever you can so that you can get the girl. And if there's a girl in danger or if there's a girl in need, you save her. Period. You don't think about the consequence. You don't think about what's going to happen to you. You don't. Sometimes these guys are even married and they ain't even thinking about what's going to happen with their family. They will do some silliness with some other girl who they think they need to save. And you've seen this in the movies too, right?
Yeah.
They'll go to strip clubs to waste all their money, or they'll do whatever other dumb stuff. Not to bash the strippers, but then some other dumb stuff, and leave
Sex
leave their
work
own
is real
family
work.
behind. So you listen to the music, bro. Listen to the music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Listen to the music. Just listen to the music.
Yeah. It's in the music.
How many men sing songs about the girl cheating
What
on
is the
them,
weekend sing again?
the girl leaving
I
them?
don't want to know if you
I don't
playing me.
want to
Keep
know.
it on the low.
Keep it on the low.
Yeah.
I don't want to know. How many, you ever hear a woman sing a song like that? You ever hear any woman sing a song like that? Say, don't tell me.
You better call Tyrone.
You
But
better
listen
call
here.
Tyrone.
So let me put the man on game right quick. Listen, don't be that guy that is doing everything for a female or a significant other who ain't trying to do anything for you. It is more important for that woman to be on your level than it is to be on hers. You know why? Because ain't nobody helping you with Jack, bro. But all type of dudes waiting in line
Tell
to
him.
help her. They ready to save her today. Save her from you. They about to Deadpool her from you. Final words. Oh, just let me just say apologies from the man. One notes he is actually on a job right now, making sure that people have the best in wood flooring work. If y'all want to get your floors done professionally, I mean the best in the world. Y'all want to check
Man working
out,
on Sunday.
yeah, on a
Understand?
Sunday. Nodes and out of town too. Nodes Wood Flooring. They could get you anywhere in Florida, especially, but definitely anywhere in the world because I'm putting it on him right now. He could get to you and ensure that you got the best floor possible. Dr. Kemp Bazaar, Empire Fitness. I have beef with you, bro. I have beef with you and your gym
What I do?
and your virtual coach program.
What I do?
I just perform at Disney. This is the first performance I've had in a little while, and none of my flipping clothes fit. No, buddy, none of my clothes fit, bro. I had to pull an audible and go find new clothes to wear on stage. I up to a medium now because the arms, the legs,
my my wife always asks me where you going in these tight pants. It's,
Bro, my
it's,
clothes are so tight, bro.
it's I tell her these the same pants, you know. These new pants. These the same pants.
I know. They
Just
just fitting different. All right, but I mean, okay, so I gotta go shop now and see if I go up in size. You know, I already short, so now the pants could be too long, but I can need the extra room.
Taylor
Anyway,
man.
this is yeah. That's what we on. I'm coming to you live from Miami right now. Actually, Kent is in Nassau, the Bahamas. This is the Sup'm Show, episode 51. Thank you once again. Yeah, see, hey, Mr. Smith, and and look how these women feel about us putting on these games. Let me show you how women treat us when we put on games. Look at this. Look at this. All over the place looking like football players. Like we on the football field. But it's next week's show. Thanks, Hans. Next week's show, I do want to talk about these television, these sitcoms, series, these movies, these documentaries, all of these highly emotionally sensitive things that women watch and feel as though it's real flipping life. I want to talk about that because you can't watch Desperate Housewives and think that that's the same thing that goes on in the real world. So I haven't found a way to word it, but it's going to be another battle of the sexes conversation. Hopefully, we can get a female on there and explain to us why they feel as though Pretty Woman is real life stories. You understand what I'm saying? Sex in the City. But anyway, they're great shows, they're wonderful shows. But that's what we want to talk about next week. Thank you once again. This is episode 51. Always Save the Girl Simp programming. Thank you, Dr. Kent Bazard. I'm Dyson Knight. Shout out to Walt Disney for having Bahaman. And we got 100,000 subscribers. Peace out.
See you guys next week.
And I'll get you on here next week for real. Let's see. Schedule it. Make sure your schedule is clear.